Hi there everyone. You may have seen these guys in the vestry or next to the piano lately. They're brand new and they are our new pair of QSC K10 loudspeakers. They are 1 kilowatt, meaning 1000 watts each, and they contain the very latest technology. So follow along in this clip and I will show you how to get the most out of them. K10s. Okay, now when you look at the front of the loudspeaker, you'll see there's nothing remarkable. There's the steel grille, which has no foam behind it, so you can actually see the loudspeaker elements inside. That's good because in the tropics, foam tends to fall apart and disintegrate, which is no good. You have a horn and a 10-inch woofer here, alright? Right at the bottom, you've got a blue light. Now, this blue light comes on when you first switch the speaker on. After about 5 minutes, it will turn off. Now, this does not mean the speaker has switched itself off. It means that it's gone into power-saving mode, right? Manufacturers are all trying to be extremely eco-friendly nowadays, and they don't want their loudspeakers consuming more energy than is absolutely necessary. So if you see the light has gone off, check the switch behind and see that it's on, okay? Unless you yourself have turned it off, the speaker is still on. As soon as it detects signal, it will turn on and everything is back to normal. Now when you look at the side of the loudspeaker, you'll see a couple of things. The first thing that you'll see is a handle, which is always useful for carrying the loudspeaker from one place to another. The other thing you'll see, which is really intelligent, is you'll see these strips. There's one here and there's one here. If I turn this a little bit, you'll get a better idea. Now, these act as rubber feet when the loudspeaker is in monitor configuration, and it helps to prevent the cabinet getting scratched up, and it also helps to reduce movement due to vibration if you're running it really loud. So the QSC engineers have obviously put a lot of thought into this thing and they've attached these. In case you're wondering, the cabinet is ABS. It is not the usual polypropylene, which is heavier, but at the same time it helps because it reduces resonances and it gives a more rigid cabinet, so you get a sound a bit closer to what a wood cabinet would be like. Looking at the top of the loudspeaker, you have a single handle here, which is very useful when you're moving the speaker a short distance or when you're repositioning it when it's standing up on its feet. Apart from that, there's nothing much to see here. You may see there's a couple of plugs. These rubber plugs, they cover the threaded inserts which are used when the loudspeaker is being suspended. So usually we just leave them in place. Now looking at the bottom of the speaker, there's a couple of things which are interesting and which set this guy apart from your normal powered speakers. You've got two rubber feet here which are pretty standard, but then instead of putting two rubber feet at the back, the QSC engineers have actually put a full-length rubber bumper. Now this is very useful because when you're carrying the speaker with the top handle and you put it down, you tend to put it down on one of the back bottom corners, and in the past, these corners would get scuffed, the paint would get knocked off them, and they would generally be the first place where the cabinet would start looking crappy. With this bumper, when you put the speaker down, this is the first thing to hit the ground. So this is really, really smart, and it shows again that the QSC engineers have thought a lot about what they're doing. The other interesting thing is this pole mount actually has a variable angle to it. Now if you come in, you'll see that on one side, this side, it says 7.5, and on the other it says 0. Now, when the loudspeaker is sitting on a pole mount and you want to angle the speaker down, in the old days you had to get tilters, and not all of these were well designed, and sometimes you'd have the situation where it would fall off the speaker and all kinds of mayhem would result. With this, if you want the speaker pointed straight ahead, you leave it set to 0. If you want it pointed down, you just turn it and voila, you have 7.5 degrees down angle. Don't want it? Set it back to where it was before. You can actually turn this either direction, and it's really intelligent and it's really flexible. Now, some people have asked me, when would you want the speaker pointing straight ahead, and when would you want it tilted down at a 7.5 degree angle? To be honest with you, the answer is most of the time, because in situations where you're using these as your main PA loudspeakers, you're typically in a fairly small room, okay? We're talking rooms that hold 50 people, 100 people, 200 people. You're not doing rooms that hold 1,000 or 2,000, not with these speakers, all right? So typically, if you have your speakers high enough such that they will cover the last row, you will miss the first row of the audience, and that's no good, because the people at the front are the ones who typically want to see the performance the most. That's why they're at the front. So with it set to 7.5 degrees down angle, you're actually hitting the front row with the same amount of sound that you're sending to the back of the room. The other thing that's very important is when you aim your loudspeakers downwards, you actually send all of the sound energy into the audience, right? You're not bouncing it off the back wall, which is what we really want to avoid, because in small rooms, if you bounce sound off the back wall, you will generate what's called a slapback echo, which is something that immediately follows the main sound and can be very disorienting. So if you're doing an event outside or even in church with these loudspeakers, I would keep this pole mount set to 7.5 degrees down angle just about all the time. Right, now here we are looking at the back of the loudspeaker. Now you'll see that it's really complicated. In fact, I think it looks like a piece of modern art, really. It's not like the old days where you had input, output, volume, and an on switch. Okay, things have moved on since then. It's been more than 10 years since the first widely accepted powered speakers came out in the form of the JBL Eons, things like the Mackie SRM 450, and this is the state of the art, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through this back panel, and don't be afraid, okay? People always get scared when they first get new gear, when they first encounter new technology. It's actually really easy to use, and it's quite intuitive. Alright, now I've zoomed in so you can have a look at the back panel here. Now at the top here, you've got your controls that work the various sections of the speaker. Then you've got your inputs. Now on this loudspeaker, you have 3 inputs. You have one input which is a mic or line. It's switchable between plugging a microphone directly in and taking the signal from a line level device such as a mixer or another powered speaker if you're connecting them together. You have another input here which is a line level only input, meaning it cannot be switched to microphone level. And here you have an RCA input, which can be used when you want to connect tape recorders, although no one uses tape recorders nowadays. CD players, iPods, MP3 players can be connected directly to this. You then have 2 outputs here. Now these outputs are in parallel with the inputs, meaning that whatever goes in here comes out here, which means that if you've got another QSC or another powered loudspeaker, you can take the signal in here and then daisy chain it to the other speaker. The same thing applies here, in here and out here. Right at the bottom of the connector panel, you have a mix output. Now what this does is it takes the sum total of these three inputs as well as the level settings. Alright, so the level settings affect this output. And this allows you to use the K10 as a mixer as well as a loudspeaker. So, if you've got a small gig with just vocal, acoustic guitar, and maybe drum machine, you don't have to use a mixer, right? You can use this, you mix everything together here, and then you send it out to your other loudspeaker. At the bottom, you've got a fan, right? So this speaker is actively cooled. You'll see that there's no heat sink on the back because of the fan. And then at the bottom, you've got the power input together with the power switch. You'll notice that the IEC connector here is blue. Now the reason for that is that we are beginning to see these new locking IEC connectors. Now the great thing about these is that the panel connector is fully compatible with the older style black IEC connectors. So if you lose this cable, or if for some reason you don't have access to this type of cable, you can take a standard IEC and plug it in, no problem. The nice thing about these is that they finally lock. Okay, one problem with IEC connectors is that they didn't lock, so if somebody tripped over your power and pulled it out, bang, no more gig, alright? With these, they do lock, and they're very simple to use. You just plug it in, and the lock engages. You can see it's really, really solid, okay? It doesn't pull out. If I turn the speaker around, you can actually see the lock on the side here. In order to get it out, you push in with your thumb and then the connector comes out, alright? So now this is a close-up of the back panel just to show you the various connectors that we have as well as the switches. Now when you first turn the loudspeaker on, the limit and standby lights will come on briefly before the blue power LED lights up. So I'll show you that. Okay. And blue light is on, right? When the blue light comes on, that means that you're ready to rock and roll, or Bach or Mozart, depending on what use you have. Now, up here, you've got a series of switches. Now, it's quite important that you understand what these switches do. The first switch here, this is your low frequency switch. What this does is it tells the loudspeaker how you want it to treat the bass or the low frequency. Okay? Now, the bottom position is deep. What that means is that it gives more bass. This is what you would do if you're using the loudspeaker for background music playback, or in cases where you need more bass for some reason. Of course, this is only a 10-inch, so don't expect too much. Miracles do happen, but with audio, they don't happen so often. The middle position, normal, is where you leave it set. EXT sub means external subwoofer. Now that means that you're operating the loudspeaker in conjunction with a subwoofer. So what that does is it removes the low bass, the very low bass that the speaker does not reproduce very well, so that the subwoofer can handle it separately. Okay? So for use as monitors or for use in conjunction with a subwoofer, you would leave it set to that position there. Now the next switch along tells you how you want the loudspeaker to handle the high frequency content. Flat means no change. The position above that, which is vocal boost, is what you would put if you want more high frequency, meaning if you need extra clarity, say you're working in a space where the acoustics are extremely boomy or very, very dead and you need more high frequency, you can put it to the vocal boost position. You could also use this if you're using them as monitors with a very loud band, or if you're using them as side fills. For us, most of the time we'll leave it set flat. Further along, you've got the limit, standby and power lights. The limit will come on when the internal limiter kicks in to protect the loudspeaker. The standby light will come on when the loudspeaker is in standby mode, as described earlier in this video. Now, next to that, you've got a switch which allows you to turn the front LED off or say what you want it to display. Power means when the speaker is on, the front LED is on. Limit means when the limiter kicks in, the front LED turns on. Off means the front LED is always off. Next to that, you've got a remote control plug that allows you to control the gain remotely. We're not using this yet. Further down the panel, you'll see you have your two inputs, which I've already talked about. On this input, you have a switch to switch it between mic and line level, right? If this yellow LED is off, it's set to line level, meaning taking a signal from a mixer. If you're going to plug a microphone directly into this loudspeaker, you need to set it to mic level. You can see that the blue LED just went off, okay? What that means is that the speaker is now in standby mode. So the front LED will also have gone off when this happens, okay? Again, don't be alarmed. As soon as it senses signal, everything will turn on again. If you are sending a line level signal to this must be in the off position, otherwise you'll get distortion and you may damage the QSC K10. On this side, you've got your other input, which is a line level only input. Now both of these jacks are what are called combo jacks, so they will accept either XLR connectors, right? So you can plug a male XLR in, okay, there or there. They will also accept jack connectors. All right, there you go. So they will accept balanced inputs or unbalanced inputs. So, and of course these will accept RCA inputs only. So it's very flexible and very versatile. You can plug just about anything into this and get a good result. Now down here, this level control is for this input only. If you're using this in the line level configuration, you should start with it set to about 12 o'clock. If you're using it in the mic configuration, you would set this to whatever you need to make the mic loud enough. Over here, you have the level control for these two inputs. So you set that again. If you are dealing with a signal from a mixer, you set it to about 12 o'clock. Further down the panel, you've got the louver for the fan, as well as the connector that I showed you earlier. So everyone, that's the overview of the QSC K10. I hope this was useful to you in understanding how these guys work and how they can be employed. They are the state-of-the-art as regards powered loudspeakers, and we hope that they will last a very, very long time. Please look after these. They were very expensive, and we hope that they will provide us with many, many years of good service. If you've got any questions or you need something explained again, please email me and I'll do my best to explain. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in church.